All right, it looks like we are live. We will wait just a moment to see if anybody's going to join in here and see if it will let my phone know that we are officially live. We are officially live. There it is. And please enjoy this beautiful backdrop here for just a moment. And I'll say hello. My name is Kyle, and I am an interpreter with California State Parks. And today I'm out at the beautiful Prairie Creek Redwood State Park, a part of Redwood State and National Parks. Now, you might notice that I am wearing my mask today, which we are not always masked. But today I'm masked because I'm joined by some very, very special guests. I want to talk to you all about a program that California State Parks is involved with called Ciencia en las Secoyas, or Science in the Redwoods. It is a project facilitated by Redwood Community Action Agency with grant funding from Save the Redwoods League and in partnership with HSU on the student-led club Ciencia para Todos, a student organization, again, from at HSU. It's also with the Humboldt County Office of Education has provided Redwood curriculum that these HSU club members, through this program, Ciencias en las Secoyas, are translating that material into Spanish for Spanish-speaking students who are learning about the Redwoods. They have also partnered with us, California State Parks, in order to get out to the parks and spend some time, in these beautiful places. So I wanted to give them all a chance just to introduce themselves to you. I've got 3 of our members joining me here today. And then once we kind of talk a little bit about the program, we're going to do a little bit of a sample. We're going to talk to you about a superpower of the Redwoods with their reproduction. And we'll do that in both English and Spanish kind of simultaneously. So thank you all so much for joining us here today. And I will go ahead and let our students introduce themselves.
Hola todos. Hi everybody. My name is Samantha and I'm a student at HSU, currently majoring in wildlife conservation and minoring in environmental science, education, and interpretation. I'm really excited to be part of this program and happy to be here today.
Woo!
Hi everyone, my name is Mayra and I'm a senior at Humboldt State University. I'm studying environmental education and interpretation, and my major is environmental science and management. And I'm so excited to be here today.
Hello all, my name is Claudia. I am a freshman at Humboldt State University. I am majoring in environmental science and management with a focus in ecological restoration. I'm really happy, to really integrate myself within a hands-on, wild-distanced learning opportunity with the Cal State Parks.
And how awesome is it that it's a part of the program for them to spend time in the Redwoods? I believe it is 3 3-hour outings. Is that correct?
Yes.
Awesome. Yeah. So that's 9 hours out in the parks. That's a part of that program. And I just think that that's spectacular that we're, having time in the parks as well. So Mayra is going to help me here. We're going to do a little bit of a discussion, a little bit of interpretation just on redwood reproduction, which if you've been watching our Facebook Lives, you've probably heard a little bit about this before. So we're going to start with redwood trees. They have a superpower, right? And this superpower is in the way that they make more redwood trees. They have 2 different types of reproduction, and redwood trees are one of the only organisms that do that.
El día de hoy les traemos un programa acerca de los árboles secoyas. Los árboles secoyas tienen un superpoder en el cual se reproducen de 2 maneras diferentes, y hoy vamos a explicarles esas 2 maneras.
So the first way that redwood trees reproduce is a way that most of us are pretty familiar with. Similar to the way that flowers make seeds, these trees are conifers, and all conifers reproduce with cones. And a coast redwood tree can produce hundreds of seeds in one single cone.
Estos árboles son pinos o coníferos y se reproducen de 2 maneras diferentes. La primera manera puede ser la manera que tú y yo estamos más familiarizados, es la misma manera en la que se reproducen los hongos o los helechos.
Awesome, thank you. So, we have here a redwood cone. Scroll down my notes a little bit. So, out of this cone comes the tiny seeds. I got one of those here for you as well. So, out of this cone comes hundreds of these tiny, tiny little seeds. They're about the size of a tomato seed. And if this seed is lucky enough, it can grow to be one of the tallest organisms on the planet. Now, first, it needs to fall somewhere that it's going to be able to get sun, and it's not shaded out by these other giant trees. And second off, the ground here, as you can see behind us, is covered in pine needles. So these seeds need to fall in somewhere that's clear, so that way they can have a chance to grow. And again, if all of those conditions are perfect, that tiny redwood seed can become one of the largest living organism on the planet.
Bueno, la primera manera es de forma de este cono. Este cono es el cono de los árboles secoyas, este cono pequeño. Y de este cono salen cientos o miles de semillas pequeñitas. Una semilla que es como del tamaño de una semilla de un jitomate. Y esta semilla tiene que tener suerte cuando esté en el suelo del bosque. Tiene que tener suficiente luz solar, suficientes nutrientes, y si tiene suerte, esta semilla, así de pequeñita como está, va a crecer a ser un organismo que viene siendo el organismo más alto del planeta, un árbol secoya.
Beautiful. So that is one of the ways that redwood trees can reproduce, is with those cones. The other way that they can reproduce is with what are called spores. Now, this process is similar to the way that ferns, you can see in the background all these green things, ferns, or fungus like mushrooms reproduce. So redwood trees have pockets of these spores stored in the tree. And oftentimes these look like big kind of lumpy warts or kind of gnarly bits on the trees. And we call those burls. And inside of those burls are tons and tons of these spores. Now, if something happens that stresses out this tree, like a fire, like a windstorm, or like a human trying to cut it down, the tree will become stressed, and that triggers these spores to start to grow into new trees.
Entonces, esa es la primera forma de que se reproducen, con los conos. La segunda forma de que se reproducen estos árboles es con clones. Y puedes observar en el tronco de este árbol que está como tantito retorcido, tienen nudos. Y en esos nudos podemos encontrar esporas. Y cuando un árbol secoya está estresado, ya sea por una tormenta de viento, por un incendio forestal o tal vez por actividad humana, como tala de árboles, el árbol que está estresado avienta las esporas, y de las mismas esporas salen clones alrededor del árbol que fue talado o que está en estrés. Y este círculo le llamamos el círculo de las hadas.
Excellent. So one important difference between these two reproduction strategies is basically the end result of the tree is a little bit different. So whenever they create a seed from a cone, there are two different parents that contribute to that, just like me and you. When they reproduce with spores, that spore is genetically identical to the parent. It's essentially a clone. So in that way, it is a little bit better to reproduce with seeds, because if there are any issues like genetically, if a tree is sick and predispositioned to have some sort of disease, it can continue to evolve when it has two different parents instead of being exactly the same every single time.
Entonces, estas dos maneras de que se reproducen el árbol tiene beneficios y tiene también, no tiene beneficios, porque en una parte, con la semilla en el cono, como tú y yo, se requieren dos padres. Y con las esporas, como es un clon del mismo organismo, tiene el mismo material genético. Entonces le conviene más a un organismo reproducirse con semillas para que el organismo pueda adaptarse. Si tiene problemas, puede el organismo adaptarse con variedad en el material genético.
Beautiful. And I think, Maya, that you mentioned something I didn't quite mention was about the fairy circles.
That's right.
Spectacular. So that is one thing that I forgot to mention that is really cool, is when these things reproduce from spores, they can create what are called fairy circles, because basically around the base of the redwood tree is where a lot of those spores are located. And those will all start to grow up all around where the stressed tree is. And what can happen sometimes is as those grow and get bigger, they can start to fuse together. so that it almost looks like one single tree, even though it maybe came from a bunch of different spores.
Hace rato comenté del círculo de hadas. Cuando un árbol está estresado, por las mismas esporas salen más árboles, nacen más árboles alrededor del tronco que fue talado o que está estresado. Últimamente esos árboles pueden unirse arriba y se mira como si fuera nada más un árbol, pero en realidad son muchos árboles que están en conjunto.
Very nice. So I think we're going to try, our connection is not great out here. So I'm going to take a little bit of a walk, just a couple of feet, to show you a fairy circle that has fused together. Hopefully our connection will hold up and we'll be able to see that.
Vamos a ir a una caminata guiada para ver si podemos ver un círculo de hadas, pero tenemos recepción media mala acá, así que ojalá y la recepción nos alcance a ir al círculo de hadas para que ustedes puedan ver en su casa.
Awesome. So here, we'll take our little walk here, and then we will check out our questions kind of as we go here. And hopefully our connection will hold up, get us out here a little bit. We got to thank you for the information. Me and my young son loved this. We live in the Redwoods, and they are very fascinating. All right. Then we got a question from Nancy. It said, is this method of reproduction the same for dawn redwoods? And that is a great question, Nancy. I am not sure as to the reproduction strategies of dawn redwoods. I'm not sure if they use the same strategies or not. I'll do a little bit of research and see if I can get back to you on that. And Steve Yahelka says, yay for bilingual interpretation, and I fully agree with you, Steve. That's awesome. So I'm going to flip the camera around here. You can see this. I'll point it out to you before we get over here. It's this tree right here has a bunch of different fairy circle that is fused together. So I'm going to walk over there, but again, I'm not sure if our connectivity is going to hold up for us. There's a beautiful fire scar up this tree on the right as well. It's pretty incredible. And in case we do disconnect, I want to give a huge shout out to Mayra for being able to translate kind of on the fly. We wrote out a rough script of this, but a lot of what I was saying, Mayra was just translating kind of as we went. So that was really awesome for doing that, Mayra. Thank you. All right, here we go. So you can see here where there's some trees that have been separated that have started to kind of grow together, and you've got this massive, just fused tree, like a wall of tree going up. We'll walk around it here, and looks like we're holding up pretty good. So yeah, that is a wall of tree right there. And that's a bunch of different individuals who have all fused together. You can see how they split off as they go up the tree. That's pretty incredible stuff. And just one of the many superpowers that redwood trees have, and this is with their production or reproduction again, how they make more trees. Pretty incredible stuff. Mayra, is there anything else you would like to add as we wrap up?
Gracias por venir, y aquí pudieron ver el círculo de hadas. Este es nada más es un árbol, pero son muchos organismos, son muchos árboles que se juntaron, y también ojalá pudieron apreciar que tiene este árbol cicatrices de un incendio forestal.
Great. Thank you so much, Mayra, for joining in, and thank you all so much for tuning in for our Facebook Live here today. Stay tuned to the California State Parks North Coast Redwoods page for more great posts, spectacular Facebook Lives, and time to explore these wonderful, wonderful places. If you have any other questions, go ahead and comment them. I will come back around and answer them. I want to answer this one that I just saw come up from Mandalorian Laura. Why redwood trees have such big and short roots is because the soil is too hard. And now I'm not sure if there's a reason from the ecology, from the areas that they grow, that cause their roots to grow so shallow. But I do know that there's a lot of benefits of having those shallow roots. One of the benefits is that these trees are able to kind of interlace their roots together, almost like holding hands. And that way, if they start to lean or want to fall down, they've got another tree to kind of depend on. Another thing they can do with those interlaced roots is they can actually share nutrients. So if one tree's in some place where it's got too much water, and another tree somewhere else where it's got too much sun, those trees can actually transfer those nutrients through their roots, through basically with the help of fungus, with mycelium. be able to transfer those nutrients between these different organisms. It's pretty incredible stuff, but that's another superpower that redwood trees have, and maybe we'll talk a little bit more about that another time. Just want to thank you all again so much for joining. Keep commenting in your questions, and we'll see you next time.